Somewhere around 10 people a year in the United States die from a venomous snakebite, a number small enough that most Americans will go their entire lives without ever hearing about a confirmed case firsthand, let alone witnessing one, even in states where venomous species are common and well known. But that small number is not spread evenly across every venomous species sharing this country with us. A handful of snakes account for almost the entire toll, and the ranking does not sort itself the way most people assume, favoring frequency and range over sheer venom potency in ways that surprise even people who spend real time outdoors. Here are 4 snakes connected to more American deaths than any others, counting down. Number 4 is the copperhead, the snake responsible for more venomous bites in the United States than any other species by a wide margin, and yet one of the least likely to actually kill the person it bites. Copperheads are common across a huge stretch of the eastern and central country, tolerant of suburban edges, woodpiles, and overgrown yards in a way most venomous snakes are not, which puts them in contact with far more people than a species confined to remote wilderness ever would be, turning up in garden beds and under porch steps in neighborhoods that would never expect to host a venomous animal at all, and often relying on camouflage rather than retreat, which increases the odds of someone stepping too close without ever spotting it first. Their venom, while genuinely painful and capable of causing serious tissue damage, is comparatively mild next to what the other snakes on this list carry, and modern antivenom treatment handles the overwhelming majority of copperhead bites without a fatal outcome, particularly when the person bitten seeks care promptly rather than waiting to see if symptoms pass on their own. This is an animal that generates enormous contact with people and a real medical event when it happens, without translating that frequency into a death toll anywhere close to matching it. Number 3 is the cottonmouth, also called the water moccasin, a snake tied closely to the swamps, sloughs, and slow rivers of the southeastern United States, rarely found far from standing water for long and easily identified by the pale cotton-white lining of its mouth it displays when threatened. Cottonmouths carry a more potent venom than copperheads, capable of producing more severe tissue damage and a more dangerous medical picture if treatment is delayed, and confirmed fatalities do occur, though they remain uncommon given how often people who live and work near southeastern wetlands actually encounter the species on boat ramps, fishing docks, and flooded timber. Much of this snake's fearsome reputation outpaces its real body count, inflated for generations by a habit among people across the region of calling almost any dark-colored snake near water a cottonmouth, whether it actually is one or not, which has made the species into something closer to a catch-all boogeyman than an accurately understood animal, blamed for aggression that careful observation rarely actually confirms. Number 2 is the coral snake, the only snake on this list carrying neurotoxic venom rather than the tissue-damaging venom the others rely on, a difference that changes what a serious bite actually looks like in a hospital. Coral snake venom attacks the nervous system directly, and in a genuinely severe, untreated case, can eventually affect breathing itself, sometimes with a delayed onset that can trick a person into thinking the bite was minor before symptoms escalate hours later. Bites from this species are rare in the United States, partly because coral snakes are shy, reclusive, and far less likely to strike defensively than the other snakes on this list, and partly because their range is more limited, concentrated in the southeastern states and parts of the desert southwest. That rarity has created a real complication in recent years, since coral snake antivenom production in the United States has faced supply shortages after the original domestic manufacturer stopped production, meaning the hospitals treating a confirmed bite sometimes have to work with a smaller and more carefully managed reserve than they would for a more commonly encountered species, occasionally coordinating between facilities to make sure enough is on hand. Confirmed deaths remain low specifically because Bites themselves are so infrequent, but on a per-bite basis, this is arguably the most dangerous venom on the entire list. Which brings this list to number 1. And here the ranking lines up with what most people would actually guess, though the reason behind it is worth understanding rather than just accepting at face value. The rattlesnake, as a group covering multiple species from the eastern and western diamondback down to the timber rattlesnake and several smaller regional species, is responsible for more confirmed venomous snakebite deaths in the United States than every other species on this list combined. The reason comes down to a combination of factors rather than any single one. Rattlesnakes are widespread across nearly every region of the country, from eastern pine forests to desert southwest scrubland to mountain foothills and high plains grassland, putting far more people in range of an encounter than any single regional species confined to one habitat type could ever manage, whether that person is a hiker on a rocky trail, a rancher checking fence line, or a homeowner working in a backyard garden bed near undeveloped land. They tend to be larger bodied than copperheads, capable of delivering a significantly higher venom yield in a single bite when they choose to inject a full defensive dose, rather than a warning strike meant simply to drive an intruder away without wasting venom on a threat that could still retreat. And their venom itself, while varying somewhat by species and even by individual snake, generally combines tissue-destroying and blood-disrupting effects potent enough to produce a genuinely severe medical emergency if treatment is delayed, particularly in remote areas where reaching a hospital and antivenom can take time the patient does not have, a real concern for hikers and hunters working backcountry terrain far from the nearest emergency room. What ties all 4 of these snakes together is not raw aggression, since every species on this list would strongly prefer to avoid a confrontation with a person entirely, retreating or rattling a warning long before striking if given the chance to do so, choosing distance over conflict in nearly every documented encounter. What actually determines where an animal lands on a list like this comes down to a combination of how often people cross paths with it, how potent and how plentiful its venom is once a bite occurs, and how quickly and how completely modern medicine can intervene once someone is bitten and gets to care. The copperhead wins on sheer contact and loses on lethality, common enough to bite far more people than any other species while rarely finishing what it starts. The coral snake loses on contact and wins, bite for bite, on how dangerous its venom actually is, a rare encounter that carries outsized risk when it does happen. The cottonmouth sits in between, potent enough to be genuinely dangerous, but limited enough in range and encounter rate to stay off the very top of the list. And the rattlesnake wins on nearly every measure at once, widespread, well-armed, and encountered often enough that even a comparatively low fatality rate per individual bite adds up to the highest confirmed total in the country by a clear margin. None of these 4 snakes deserve the reputation of a mindless killer stalking anyone who gets close. Every one of them is, by the numbers, more interested in being left alone than in causing harm, and the vast majority of bites from every species on this list happen because a person stepped too close without noticing, reached into a woodpile without checking first, or handled a snake directly, rather than giving it the space it was already trying to put between itself and any encounter in the first place, space that was there for the taking if the person had simply noticed it in time. The actual danger here is real, documented, and worth respecting, but it is a danger built on accident and proximity, far more than on any deliberate hunt for a human target. If you have had a real encounter with any snake on this list, drop the species and your state below. The people who actually live and work alongside these animals tend to have a sharper sense of the real risk than any national statistic can offer on its own, and their accounts are usually more useful than any single number pulled from a database somewhere far from where the actual bite happened, closer to the ground, where these encounters actually take place season after season. If you want more of these overlooked American patterns brought into the light, subscribe and stay close, because the next snake on a list like this might already be living closer to your own back door than you think, coiled in a place nobody thought to check until it was already too late to matter.